here with Mike Boss, director, writer, and producer of Anonymous 616. Hi, how are you today, Mike Boss?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful, thank you. We're very excited. Congratulations on completing your first feature film, Anonymous 616. Now, I know that you are a writer by trade. So what made you start directing?
Well, I have written some short films and stuff, and other people produced it and directed it. And every time when I looked at the end result, I thought, well, I would have directed it a little bit different, you know. And after a couple of those experiences, I thought maybe it's time for me to actually step into those shoes and direct something myself.
What makes a film great for you?
Story. That's pretty much it. Of course, you want to have good acting and good lighting, good cinematography and all that stuff, but the bottom line is story.
Because you've now directed, what was the most important lesson you had to learn that's had a positive effect on your film?
What I had to learn as a director, there are so many things one should learn. I mean, it really is a huge task to direct a film, especially if the film is micro budget and you have to do pretty much with your team together everything yourself. So it's not just the directing, it's everything from producing and doing props all the way to, you know, ultimately directing the actors.
What failures have you been able to learn from?
I guess what I learned is to really make sure that the actors always do exactly the same thing. Because I'm doing also the editing, and I sometimes see that the actors deliver a line and their hand is here, and then with another take the hand is down here. Now you can't cut back and forth because otherwise you always have the hand thing going on. So I guess I would have to say that I would tell the actors over and over again that you gotta do the same thing. Not the delivery of the lines, that can be different, but physically things, you know, smoking or having your hand on the chin or stuff like that. So that's one lesson I learned.
This is a really interesting idea that you had for Anonymous 616. You know, an anonymous person who is talking to somebody else saying they know everything about them. What inspired you to come up with that idea for your film?
Well, since I was looking for a micro budget film that happens in one location, it had to be something that is stationary, that doesn't move from location to location. And I thought, everybody sits in front of a computer and everybody is doing chat rooms and that stuff. And I thought, how interesting would it be if somebody, suddenly some anonymous person on the other side says, I know everything about you, and then goes on and proves it. That's the eerie part. And what are you going to do with that? So that was the basic idea behind it.
Okay, what was the process of shooting on set like?
A nightmare.
So what was the process of shooting on set like?
Well, it was of course an amazing experience, but also at the same time the most exhausting and the most stressful time in my life. That's for sure.
What made it so stressful? Like, what did you have to do as a director?
Well, the responsibility, of course, and since this was a micro-budget film, there was a lot of things I had to do myself, or I chose to do myself, from scrubbing the blood on the floor to bringing out the trash at 5 o'clock in the morning after being 30 hours on my feet already, and then prepare for the next day and direct the actors and the shots, and a lot of decisions had to be made, so it was unbelievably exhausting.
So what films have been the most inspiring or influential to you, and why?
Well, films with great stories like The Devil's Advocate or Matrix or Contact or American History X. I mean, movies that actually touch you and change you in a certain way. Those are the powerful films that I gravitate to.
So what was the most challenging aspect of directing? I know we already kind of spoke a little to it, but what specifically was the most challenging?
The most challenging thing about this whole directing experience was shooting stuff out of sequence. Even though we went pretty much chronological, more or less, but then when it comes to the scene itself, you still shoot this scene out of sequence. Sometimes you shoot, the ending first of the scene, or because the camera is now on the left, let's shoot this first, and then you go back to the beginning, and that can become extremely confusing.
On the other hand, what was the most fun part of directing?
Lunch. or also when the actors give an incredible performance and like, yeah, we got something great. That's a good feeling.
Anonymous 616. So what is the message that you're trying to get across in this film?
Well, I would say the core of the message is that today's generation somehow thinks that all that matters is how they feel. And I happen to believe that all that matters is how you act. So that's kind of the core of the message.
Where did the name Anonymous 616 come from?
Well, first the screenplay was called Anonymous, but then the movie came out a year ago with the same title. So I thought, since Anonymous is a username on a computer, why not give it a number? And first I thought Anonymous 666, but I thought that's a little bit too much on the nose. So I thought Anonymous. So I did some research and realized that the real number of the beast is actually 616, and that's why I chose that.
Like, how did you make the jump from directing a short film to directing a feature film?
Well, our third producer, Peter Furman, who's a cinematographer / producer, he out of the blue said, Mike, you should direct it. And I was like, really? I mean, I thought maybe we can direct it together, He said, no, you can do it. So he was actually the one putting me in that position, and I took it on and ran with it, so to speak.
What's one thing you might have learned that you would have done differently?
Well, I think I would have a printout of the storyboards in hand, because I spent hundreds of hours of creating the storyboards, and then I thought, well, if we have a laptop computer on set, that's enough, but it would have been so much better to have a printout so you can actually physically make notes on it or scratch it out when you have it and always carry them. So that's what I would do different.
So what's next? Do you have any upcoming projects that we should look out for?
Well, yeah, we have about 20 screenplays that are ready to be developed further. So we have several projects that we're looking into, and we're going to choose which one is the most suited very soon.
Where can we expect to see Anonymous 616? Like, what do you plan to do when it's done?
Well, as soon as it is finalized, it will be available most likely on iTunes and Google Plus and Amazon and all those digital platforms, and then most likely later on also on Netflix, for example.